Almighty God, we offer our prayers to you and seek your protection for everyone in our blessed country. We pray, O God, for you to protect us from harm and sickness, so that we may have the strength to look after one another. O merciful Lord, we pray that you will continue to bless our land and those who cultivate our crops, so that there may always be food. We pray that no one will ever go hungry. Grant us understanding, equal vision, and balanced minds. Guide us along a path of faith, devotion, and wisdom. Help us to recognize that each of us is equal, that we are all equal in humanity. Give us your protection so that we may live in safety together and grow strong and free together. We pray that everyone will find love and peace in their daily lives. Dear God, we pray for our political leader. We pray for members of this team. Protect them, God, and give them the strength and courage to continue their service to our nation without fear or favor. Thank you, God, for keeping your children free in our democratic state, where every creed and race finds an equal place. Dear God, we beseech you to bless our leaders, bless our people, and bless our country.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. I would like to welcome you to the United National Congress virtual platform, where we are about to launch our local government by-election campaign. This year's campaign is focused on bread, peace, and justice for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And tonight, we have a very packed and powerful program with a battery of speakers that will shake the PNM out from the remaining corporations in Trinidad. We have 5 winning candidates who you will hear from, together with the dynamic mix of senators and members of parliament. At the start of tonight's proceedings, I would like to introduce a woman who has spent most of her political life in local government, a woman who is no stranger to the UNC platform, who has stood loyal and who has stood by the United National Congress, the energetic and the beautiful, powerful member for St. Augustine, Member of Parliament for St. Augustine, Khadija Amin.
Political leader of the United National Congress, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, fellow members of Parliament, senators, councillors, candidates in this election, friends of the UNC. I want to begin on behalf of the newly elected National Executive of the UNC to taking this opportunity to wish each of you a happy new year. 2021 must be a year that we are brave enough to stand and make a difference. This is the UNC's virtual launch for 5 by-election candidates. It must not be seen, as some have already said, as no big thing. What is at stake? This is a by-election. We have 5 seats in 5 different regional corporations. This election will not remove the wicked PNM from government. God knows they need to be moved. But we must not let this opportunity slip by. This is your chance to participate in democracy. This is your chance for your voice to be heard. The UNC, when in government, both in 1995 under Bastille Pandey, and even more so in 2010 under Kamla Persad-Bissessar as Prime Minister, local government was always more empowered. They got more resources. Councillors got offices and secretaries, not for the PNM, not for PNM or UNC, but for all across the board. Government agencies supported regional corporations. WASA, for example, providing pipe-borne water to areas where regional corporations would have provided truck-borne water only for decades under the PNM. Tech lighten all the recreation grounds, National Self-Help Commission, which fell under local government in that time, doing community projects, minor repairs to homes for needy families, repairs to damaged infrastructure after disaster. I can tell you that even PNM councillors say that their communities, their electoral districts, fared better under the UNC. You see, my friends, the PNM believes that if they put a crapo in a balize tie, you must vote for it. The PNM believes that even with their poor representation, you must vote for them again. And I am sure in this election, they will tell you vote for them because they are already in government. The PNM believes that even with their abuse of those who vote for them, I mean, look at the state of some of the PNM strongholds and the conditions of the people who continue to vote for the PNM. They abuse their constituents. Even with rampant corruption, it seems to be in their DNA. Even though when they win, it is friends, family, and financiers. People like Faris who benefit when you vote for them. That we must continue to vote for them is their mantra. And we must send a strong message that that will be no more. They will demonize anyone who is bold enough to speak out against them and expose their corruption and abuse. That, my friends, is why those of you in these 5 electoral districts must vote for the UNC candidate. And those who are not in those districts must reach out to ensure that anybody you know in those districts vote resoundingly for the United National Congress. This is your chance to send a message. The PNM, after 5 years of high crime, rampant unemployment, more jobs being lost every single day, healthcare and education falling apart. This, my friends, they will take the opportunity to come and ask you to vote for them again. This is your chance to vote for bread, peace, and justice. Vote to send a message that every home must have food. Send a message that no child must go hungry. The resources of government must go to all. You know, we who wake up and read about more murders every morning in the news, we pray for peace for Trinidad and Tobago. And I can tell you, those who lose their loved ones because the PNM cannot handle the crime situation, they are crying out for justice. Those who are fighting to do the right thing and suffering while an attorney general walks away with millions in rent, while one law is applied for those on the PNM side and another law for the poor man, they are crying out, we are all crying out for equal rights. This is a vote, my friends, for bread, peace, and justice. The United National Congress will tonight present you with 5 well-qualified, capable, grounded candidates. You have a choice to vote for each one of them. You will hear from them shortly, of course, but I want you to take the opportunity to reach out. Reach out to them, walk with them, get votes together, because in some of those seats, even though the PNM feel is their territory, I will tell you, they have been winning by very small margins for many years. At this time, I want to take the opportunity to introduce the candidate who will contest in the Diego Martin region in the electoral district of MORNE, ALYCE, GLEN. John Ricardo LAQUIS is a son of the soil of Diego Martin Central, and he has his roots very firmly grounded into the community. He's a family man who has been married for 40 years with 3 children and 4 grandchildren who he is very proud of. A man who is dedicated to his family. He has now entered politics to transfer this passion to the improvement of the lives of the residents in his wider community in Diego Martin Central. He's a businessman by trade who has over 40 years' experience in the automobile and marine industries. Everybody in Diego Martin knows Mr. John LAQUIS. He has always felt that the constituency of Diego Martin and the region as a whole has been continuously neglected for several years. And this is a sentiment echoed by many, and he intends to focus on youth, unemployment, infrastructure, and the levels of crime within the area. Being a father and grandfather, he has always felt the need, like every parent, to leave a better environment for the future generation. John believes that the UNC is the best medium to effect these changes, and he is supported by friends and family alike to become the new candidate and the next councillor for the electoral district of MORNE ALYCE GLEN. Welcome, Mr. John LAQUIS, your UNC candidate.
Good night, everyone, my colleagues. Good night to the political leader. Good night to citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. You may be wondering why it is I'm doing this again. Well, it's simple. Things are not the same, they have gotten worse. The last councillor who has gone on to greener pastures and probably a new high-tech phone because no one could get in touch with him, you know, has left this seat unoccupied. But it doesn't say that even if he was there, things would have been different. Things are worse now. So what we have been doing and trying to ascertain how it is we're going to help these people around that can't get in touch with the past man, I have decided to put my in the ring to contest this seat. The reason is, the same people who are inside of that council will soon go into a new building that they're building opposite West Mall. They can't and they do not do the job that they elected for in the old building, but they are spending millions on a building. A building is not going to fix the roads. A building is not going to take care of the needs of the people. A building is not going to improve these people. They are just what they are. They go from salary to salary. They spend millions on things, and when you look at some of the roads, to repair these roads are thousands of dollars. They are not millions, but the PNM love to deal in hundreds of millions. So what can I say? I know that I could get some of these things done at bargain prices. People are willing to help, you know, but there's no one in there. When I get into that council there will be 11 of them against me. But I'm saying that they'll be in for a rough ride. They will not run over me. I do not back up. Roads have become a, how to put it, you remember the old game called block and tackle on your bicycle? Well, people play block and tackle on the roads every day with their cars. When it goes across on the western side, from 4 roads going towards West Mall, the Mount Coco Road there, WASA continue to dig up the roads instead of putting pipes under the pavement so you would not disrupt traffic. They're spending millions putting up these, digging up the roads, putting the pipes down, and the roads are deplorable. But it's good because you see the people who live down that way are all high class and they have the high class cars and so they buy a new one next year anyhow. You know, but the roads, I don't know how they could just settle for that, and I am not the person that will just watch on and say it's okay and let things go by. No, I cannot. It's not in me. If I see I could do something, I'm going to do it. You know, and everything that we have, the problems we have, garbage, etc., you know, there's lack of opportunities for the young people, A lot of things, they are simple solutions. Once you decide, okay, I'm going to do it, you know, there are solutions. There are people that could help us. A lot of people outside there who willing but afraid. You know, they don't want to put their neck on the line. I have a family, John, you know, there's that, and excuse. I say, I have a family too, but hello, I'm going out there and fight because I'm not taking this anymore. I cannot. Anyhow, when I get inside of there, those people in for the threat of their life, they better get off their backside and get going, because I will be leading that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, John. And John is the winning candidate for the seat of MORNE COCOI ALYCE GLEN in the Diego Martin Regional Corporation. And now, a man who has been fighting for all of us inside of the Senate, former Speaker of the House, he will come to this platform to tell you that if the PNM wins this election, the people will lose. I now bring on the powerful, the well-known, and none other than Wade Mark, Senator.
Thank you, Brother Saddam Hussein. My brothers and sisters, all, let me recognize our honorable leader, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar, distinguished speakers to come in the audience, colleagues, brothers and sisters all. The cry throughout the land, the cry of the people is for peace, for bread, and for justice in our country, against a government that is completely insensitive to the needs, dreams, hopes, and aspirations of our citizens. Brothers and sisters, everywhere you turn, the country is collapsing, the country is going down. Foreign reserves are down. Unemployment, brothers and sisters, continues to rise in our land. Oil prices as well as production are also down in this country. Gas prices have also collapsed, and NGC, the National Gas Company, has now become a loss-making enterprise. Foreign direct investment in our country is now in negative territory. The ease of doing business is at its worst. The food import bill is over $6 billion, brothers and sisters. The poverty rate continually and continuously rising, 30% or thereabout. The private sector is no longer hiring people, and the balance of payment continues to be in deficit, brothers and sisters. We are experiencing a wage and salary freeze in the public and private sector. Unemployment, rather, is also frozen in the private sector and, by extension, the public sector. Brothers and sisters, we can anticipate under this vicious, wicked, and evil administration led by Keith Rowley, electricity and water rates going up in 2021. Brothers and sisters, not to mention pending increases in gasoline and other fuel prices. There is going to be an explosive increase in the cost of living. As you would have read and at least discern, shipping lines have now increased their freight rates, brothers and sisters, from about 2,500 to close to about 8,000 to 10,000. And what is going to happen is that the price of goods and services from January, the end of January into February, will increase between 20 and 30%. Shipping agents are saying they no longer want to trade in TT dollars, and they are calling on persons who are trading with them to provide them with US dollars. And if you cannot provide them with US dollars, they are not bringing containers of goods to you and to the people. That is where the PNM has brought this country to today. Brothers and sisters, what is more egregious, what is even more dangerous, is a government that campaigned in 2015 on a platform of integrity, transparency, and accountability against bid rigging. You know what these fellas did, brothers and sisters? As soon as they got into office, they gutted, they destroy what is called the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Act. They did not amend the law once. They did not amend it twice, but 3 times in order to make it ineffective, so that Rowley and his gang of 4, who I call the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, brothers and sisters, they are what is called a kleptocratic regime. It's a regime run by thieves. That is what we have running our country today in Trinidad and Tobago. A bunch of thieves and bandits and crooks running our country. So they want to have the legal power through the cabinet to procure all goods and services under what is called financial services, under legal services, under medical services, under audit and accounting services. And they say when they come into a government arrangement, they want to have a free hand. So Rowley, Imbert, Alwari, and Stuart Young can determine what they get, when they get it, how they get it. The cabinet approves everything. So the government contract is now under Rowley's control. Private-public partnership agreements under Rowley control. Technical cooperation agreements under Rowley and Alwari's control, brothers and sisters. And you have to face that reality in this country. I am saying to you tonight that the PNM has used procurement legislation in order to legalize thievery, banditry, and naked corruption in our country. That is what the PNM has done as they gutted and simply destroy, brothers and sisters, the procurement laws in our country. So this evening, let us be clear in our minds, brothers and sisters. The PNM is about themselves. The PNM does not care about the people and the ordinary people. And that is why, brothers and sisters, the people are crying out for peace. The people are crying out for justice. The people are crying out for bread in Trinidad and Tobago. And the only political party that is standing between giving the people with their support, peace, bread and justice, and this PNM government is our party, the great and the glorious United National Congress, my brothers and sisters. So, brothers and sisters, I would like at this point in time, before I close, to introduce our candidate. We are into local government elections. There are 5 seats up for, we are contesting, I should say, in the local government elections. Brothers and sisters, I have the honor, privilege, and pleasure to introduce our candidate for the electoral district of Hollywood in the borough of Point Fortin. His name is Brother Daniel Ricardo John. He has been a long lifetime servant for both his community and this great country. He is a retired electrician. Brother Daniel has been a proud member of the National Service Program since its inception over 30 years ago. Daniel spends his time serving as a spiritual counselor. My brothers and sisters, he's fed up with the lack of development in his area and the neglect by those who have taken the people of Hollywood for granted. Brother Daniel wants to see a better sporting program and a more entrepreneurial set of workshops geared towards helping young people to start their own business. It is my pleasure, it is my honor to bring to you tonight our winning candidate for the electoral district of Hollywood, Brother Daniel Ricardo John. Could you warmly welcome Brother Daniel Ricardo John to the podium?
To the political leader, the Honorable Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessas, Member of Parliament, Senators, National Executive Members, UNC family, Point 14 people, and especially the Hollywood constituency. I am Daniel John, your candidate for the Hollywood district. I serve the community in the spirit of the spirituality in the tradition of Ifa Risha, assist the shouters, also the Baptists. I answer the call to the people of Hollywood due to we need to uplift and build our community. Hollywood was the hub. When I say the hub of all culture in Fanny Village. Warden Road, Fanny Village, Hollywood was the emancipation groups that would portray emancipation. A vote for Daniel John is a vote for betterment in sports and culture. A vote for UNC and Daniel John is a vote for improvement in the domestic infrastructure, and a vote for Daniel John is a vote for a commitment to the creation of sustainable, people-centered businesses in the Hollywood district. Sports and culture must be re-established in the form of an economic base rather than just for recreation and fun. We need to establish complexes that will build the sporting complex, the sporting facilities in the community, that will help the youth that they could create employment strategies. And a proper community center is also needed, being close with the Fanny Village Center being as a school for 5+ years until they build the primary school. We don't have a community center in which to promote sport and culture in the community. In promoting sustainable businesses, we ensure our promotion education workshops in areas that are prepared for the coming age, the coming era, IT, and other construction developments, solar panel. We also create a community cooperative for small jobs in the area. In our interaction with our youths, they are despondent of the closure of MIC and NESC in the community, so there's lack of educational opportunities in their areas. As your representative, I will promote the domestic tourism also, with the available resources within the community that has not been fully taken advantage of by past representatives. There are many projects that can foster the creation of sustainable jobs. We wish that you vote for bread, peace, and justice, and that, as I close, I want each and everybody in Hollywood to know that Daniel John is a vote for change. Many years of voting, the same party has not brought about the change you wanted. Vote for United National Congress and Daniel John. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you.
Very much, Daniel. He is the winning candidate in the Point 14 Borough Corporation, the candidate for Hollywood, the next councillor for the electoral district of Hollywood. And now, to bring on a man who has the PNM trembling inside of the House of Representatives. I guess he's probably the Prime Minister's favorite member of Parliament. Dr. Rudal Munilali, member for Orubuch East.
Thank you very much. The very young and dynamic Member of Parliament for the constituency of Sama Barataria. Greetings to all the very few people here at our virtual meeting in the San Fernando area. Political leader, the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, members of Parliament, members of the executive, colleagues all. Tonight, I can begin by genuinely wishing all of you listening in Trinidad and Tobago and elsewhere, a very happy new year. Although we cannot point to any happiness that we see on the horizon, given the trajectory of the Rowley administration. Indeed, we don't like to tell you that we told you so, but we told you so. And this may well be a year of property tax, increase in water rates, electricity rates, increase in poverty, joblessness. But we are hoping that the spirit of 2020, as defined by our compassion and care and support for each other, will continue in what promises to be a very challenging year. Today, we speak on the platform of local government in support of our dynamic candidates who are all working side by side to ensure that together we can win, together we can serve, together we can develop, and we can serve Trinidad and Tobago so that our people will truly find justice, peace, and bread. This evening I would spend a few minutes on one issue primarily. In the news for the last few days, we have been reading the news online and the newspaper hard copy, and we have been reading about a particular project that the government of Trinidad and Tobago is seeking to criminalize and scandalize. Every single thing a UNC government does, or a partnership government does, they seek to scandalize and criminalize. This is why they would never have opened for 9 years the Beach High School, you must remember that. Today, it took a pandemic to open the Children's Hospital, to open the gate at the Debe campus. The Ramai Trace Hindu School is still closed, the Reform Presbyterian School, I believe, and other schools. They will open nothing built by the UNC or the Partnership Administration. And now, they are scandalizing the purchase of a helicopter. It is called a Sikorsky S-76D helicopter. It was leased by the People's Partnership Administration at the end of 2014. But do you know for 5 years they kept a helicopter on lockdown, hidden at a hangar in Komoto? A helicopter that we leased to give aerial support as a national security asset for the defense force and the police. They kept it secretly hidden on lockdown before COVID at Komoto. And today they are seeking to scandalize that. They park up this helicopter as an act of spite, malice, because it is us, the partnership under Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, that made the investment and the decision to lease a chopper. And they talk all sort of foolishness, but the long and short is that this has nothing to do with sovereign immunity, whatever that means. This has to do with a proper lease arrangement that we entered, obtained the use of a state-of-the-art helicopter. We had, of course, it was leased, so there were conditionalities, certain obligations. You have to pay insurance, you have to pay your rent because you're leasing. You have to ensure that it was enrolled into an internationally acceptable maintenance program. So you maintain the asset, because at the end of 5 years, the owner can take back the asset. So they do everything to ensure that this aerial asset, the helicopter, is kept properly maintained. The PNM did nothing. They signed no maintenance contract. They paid no insurance. They paid no rent. It blew up in their face. Because you see, you can close a school or a university that is concrete, glass, and steel. It is bad. But when you decide that you are hiding an asset like a helicopter, which you are leasing for a rent, that has legal implications. So, Vertical Aviation, the company, took the government to court because the government stopped paying. They defaulted. And a helicopter park up, look, I can show you, this is the helicopter. It is in a hangar in Komoto. This is the asset. Look at this. State of the art. This is what we should have been using had we been in office to patrol our borders, to protect our borders. We have illegal immigrants coming on raft, on boat, swimming. And the police, the defense force, they have no working choppers. None. Because the government of Keith Rowley, Stuart Young Alwari, decide they will keep this hidden behind closed doors in Komoto. So brothers and sisters, the people take them to court. They're talking about sovereign immunity if Ram Logan or Gary Griffith signed that. And that is irrelevant. It is a default judgment. The government failed to file a defense, to put in an appearance. They did not go to court. So today, this country, the taxpayers of this country, can face a payment of $100 million because of the incompetence, because of the spite, because of the malice of Keith Rowley, Stuart Young, Faris Alwari, and others. I say today, taxpayers shouldn't pay a cent. We should take that money from Rowley gratuity. We should take that money from Stuart Young's salary. And we could take the rest from Alwari rental. That is where the money should come from. Taxpayers ought not to do this. Pay for that incompetence, spite, and malice. And in the coming days, of course, you will hear much more about that. And while they are doing that, and I'll tell you something, this country needed aerial support to deal with border protection. If you leave it to Rowley, they put up a hot balloon with 2 policemen in it, you know. Like Phileas Fogg and Passepartout. So, they have no vision. They have no purpose. And the assets that we procured, they allow it to rot away. Eventually, a scrap iron dealer will have to buy that helicopter for a few $100s and scrap it. Because it has nothing, there's something called a certificate of airworthiness. Would you believe that the civil administration, the civil aviation administration, could not even access that helicopter to do inspection, to do registration? So even if somebody want to take it back to America, they can't take it, it can't fly. And this is what we have to put up with under this government. And while this is happening, as Senator Mark said, what did they do? They destroyed the procurement legislation. Today, the vice chairman of the procurement authority resigned in disgust. He said it was the final emasculation. And others will follow because the PNM government has undermined and destroyed all procurement law in this country so they could continue, as Wade Mark said, their banditry. But more of that on another occasion. I now have a great privilege and honor to introduce to you the winning candidate, another winning candidate in the upcoming local government election. He will represent the district of CUNUPIA. We want to introduce a great soldier of our party, a friend, colleague for many years, Mr. Richard SUKDEO, a son of the Chaguanas area. He has lived in CUNUPIA for over 18 years. He has been involved in our great party for over a decade and a half, and he has served at every conceivable level of our party. A community activist, he has worked with various community groups throughout Chaguanas, CUNUPIA, and other areas around there. He's an active member of the Montrose New Testament Church. He has served as director of the Film Company of Trinidad and Tobago, the Creative Industries Board, and the Free Zone Company of Trinidad and Tobago. Let us welcome a very experienced, visionary, and capable candidate who will be the next councillor for the electoral district of CUNUPIA. Let us welcome Brother Richard SUKDEO.
Very much, Dr. Munilal, the Honorable Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesa, the political leader, colleagues, Trinidad and Tobago. I take this opportunity this evening to express thanks to the Honorable Leader and the Screening Committee for their expression of confidence and giving me the opportunity to be the candidate for CUNUPIA. CUNUPIA District has been expanding for quite a while in the areas of population, residential housing, and new business. And with the Chaguanas Borough Corporation on the verge of being city status, I think there needs to be extra funding. Because of this expansion, there is not enough financing to cater for this expansion that is taking place. But in consideration of the limited financing, the borough, the political arm, the administrative arm, they have done tremendously well with the limited funding for the expansion that is taking place. With respect to crime in the borough, the PNM has been promising to decrease crime, but rather it has been increasing, and it has seriously affecting the borough of Chaguanas, especially in my area. What I intend to do as a councillor in the CUNUPIA district, I intend to work with the Ministry of National Security, the Ministry of Works, to install CCTV cameras, so that we can put it at strategic points to enable people to be aware of what is happening in the community. Also, I intend to develop WhatsApp group within the community and to make special contact with the police, the CUNUPIA police station, so that we can have close working relationships so that we can have a safer community there. In terms of the economy, this PNM administration, they have mismanaged so much that it has affected, and especially in this pandemic period, they have affected the employment status of the residents of CUNUPIA, especially. To assist in this immediate plan, we would like to develop a flea market area. We would like to develop an area where we can bring in single mothers and new business people so that they can participate in the economy. With respect to youth and sport, we have a CUNUPIA police project ongoing, and we want to see that to completion, where it has a place to reform people who may have fallen on the wrong side of the law also. So I want to say that CUNUPIA will remain the UNC. We want the people there to come out and vote for the United National Congress to continue the good governance. And all the people want in an electoral district like CUNUPIA. They want a safe environment, they want clean drains, they want clean streets, they want an efficient garbage collection. Those are the basic needs that I intend to supply as a councillor in the CUNUPIA district. And as I close, I would like to leave with a quote from a popular religious book that I have been sent here in the CUNUPIA district to represent the people for such a time as this. I thank you.
On January 25th, Richard SUKDEO will be the next councillor for the electoral district of CUNUPIA. We are asking all persons from the CUNUPIA area to ensure that they go out very early and cast their vote, and cast it resoundingly for the United National Congress on the 25th of January 2021. And the United National Congress is all about progression. It is about progression because I'm now going to introduce the former councillor for the seat of Hindustan St. Mary's, who is now the MP for Moruga Tableland, Michelle Benjamin.
Good night to my honorable political leader, to all MPs seated here, and to Moruga Tableland that is locked on and viewing. It is my pleasure here tonight to introduce a candidate and the next councillor for Hindustan St. Mary's, Mr. Tylan Farrell. But before I do so, I stand here tonight to call out the PNM for the utter neglect of Moruga Tableland, to speak of the joblessness, to speak of the homes that are collapsing due to cave lands, and yet the PNM government never responds. The PNM government is a government that promises, but they never deliver. And we in Moruga Tableland know all too well that the PNM government is not an option. And on January the 25th, I have full confidence that Tylan Farrell would be the next councillor for Hindustan St. Mary's. I am honored here to introduce Mr. Tylan Farrell. Mr. Farrell is an example of youth innovation and commitment to building our nation. At the age of 29, he's a business owner. He's well involved in the community. He has a passion for Hindustan St. Mary's. After living in the district for his entire life, Mr. Farrell is involved in every youth group. I work with Mr. Farrell as the MP and as the then councillor, and I have full confidence that he will pick up pick up where I left off as the councillor for Hindustan St. Mary's, to advocate for the bad roads in Tableland, to fix the drainage in St. Mary's. Mr. Tyrone Farrell is the option and the only option for us in Hindustan St. Mary's. So I stand here before you to pass the baton to your next councillor, Mr. Tyrone Farrell.
The Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, political leader of the United National Congress, Member of Parliament for Muruga Tableland, fellow candidates, brothers and sisters, my people of Hindustan St. Mary's, good night. It is with great pleasure I stand before you here today as the United National Congress local government candidate for the electoral district of Hindustan St. Mary's. Born and raised in Blackwell Trace, St. Mary's, I grew up in a home of service, compassion, integrity. Deep within myself, I always knew that I was made to do something great, to bring about change and improvement. To improve the life of my community and the burgesses of Hindustan St. Mary's, I started working to advance the lives of the burgesses by supporting residents through difficult periods and contributing to the local events, by using my expertise in sports and culture to further enhance the lives of persons in my area. I am passionate and committed to creating a path for a better future for Hindustan St. Mary's. Once elected, government representative at Princestown Regional Corporation, to the people of Puran Road, 6 Company, Ants Nest, Blood Road, Devil's Wood Yard, Naji Road, and Frederick, I am aware of your numerous infrastructural plights. I assure you that together with the Member of Parliament, we'll make the relevant representation to central government to have your plights addressed. I will devise innovative measures to assist single-parent mothers and unemployed groups. I feel your pain. Therefore, I will stand with you to ensure your lives are improved. Throughout the years, I have equipped myself with the necessary tools to become an agent of change. With a political leader as my mentor, I have continued on a journey of self-improvement and lifelong learning. I am vibrant and motivated. I have prepared myself to represent the people of Hindustan St. Mary's to the best of my ability. I offer myself to the service of the people. I know that I can revitalize the community through the proposed trending changes required for reform. I believe in inclusivity and embracing all people who make up our diverse district of Hindustan St. Mary's. We are indeed a microcosm of our beloved Trinidad and Tobago. I pledge accountable, fair, and respectful representation to all who reside in the district, no matter color, creed, or race. I will fight for a safer community by engaging the umbrella of the protected services. I will make the relevant representation for improved infrastructure to the Ministry of Work and Transport and other state enterprises. I will defend the rights of those who are more vulnerable in our society, our senior citizens, our promising youth, and the downtrodden. Our nation needs healing, and this healing will begin with the success of the United National Congress in the upcoming local government by-election. Let us return Trinidad and Tobago to the path of government, compassion, love, and harmony, which began under the stewardship of Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa in 2010. Programs for national growth and sustainability. Let us return security, peace of mind, comfort, and hope to our people. I am ready to serve in the capacity of the next local government representative for Hindustan St. Mary's. Let's build with Thailand, one of yours working for you. Thank you.
I am confident that the seat of Hindustan St. Mary's is remaining with the United National Congress, as Tyrone Farrell will be the next councillor for Hindustan St. Mary's, returning the UNC to the Princestown Regional Corporation. Tonight I would like to announce the winning candidate for the electoral district of ARIMA Central, Mr. Sheldon GARCIA. Sheldon is an Arimian to the bone, having lived in Malabar all his life. He has served this community as a football coach for over 25 years, which has allowed him to positively change the lives of hundreds of young people. As a devout Catholic and member of the Malabar RC Church, Sheldon believes service to man is service to God. Hence his consistent community development work in the past years, which have seen him undertake significant events such as children's Christmas parties at the Velodrome. Tired of the neglect and underdevelopment of the ARIMA borough, which was faced by the PNM regime, Sheldon is standing to fight against the poor representation in ARIMA Central. I now bring on Sheldon GARCIA, the next councillor for ARIMA Central.
Mr. Chairman, for that wonderful introduction. To my colleagues at the head table, good night. And to my political leader and the best Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, SC. My name is Sheldon GARCIA, and I am your winning candidate for ARIMA Central seat in the upcoming by-election. I want to thank my leader and the screening committee for the opportunity to be the candidate. I have served the burgesses of ARIMA Central all my life. I have a history of serving the youths as a football coach. I have helped with the fashioning of the young football talent for Trinidad and Tobago. I bring my experience with mentoring our youth. That is what is needed in ARIMA Central. During my walkabout, people, especially the youths, have told me they are neglected by then councillor who has now run away to be a member of parliament. They have been abandoned and left to the side. However, I make a vow to the young people of ARIMA Central. When I become the councillor for ARIMA Central, I will not abandon them. I will initiate more football camps, career days to facilitate young people and help them also find meaningful jobs. Further to that, I shall have a once-a-month youth apprentice at my office for them to see what the job of a councillor entails. Many would know that I also transport children to school within the district of ARIMA Central for many years. I have met some of the families of the children that I transport, and I have heard their cries that they have been bitterly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Many children are without laptops, and even connectivity is a problem. I am so saddened that the PNM, due to their mismanagement of this crisis, our children have to suffer. As the next councillor for ARIMA Central, I will do all the necessary to ensure the children of ARIMA Central are taken care of. I will also be setting up a homework center for children. During my walks, I am also told of the problem of infrastructure, drainage, and imagine this, water. In 2021, people still don't have a good supply of water. And as your next councillor, I will make sure these are my priorities. It is a shame that the PNM Control Bureau has allowed this to happen. And even 2 PNM MPs have allowed this to happen, and I say shame on them, shame. My brothers and sisters, the people of ARIMA Central, now is the time to have a working councillor work for you. I, Sheldon GARCIA, am here to work for you. I would like to give thanks to my winning campaign team, and I must say, long live the UNC, long live Kamala Persad-Bissessar, and long live Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you.
Much. The next candidate, the next councillor, for the seat of ARIMA Central. And now to introduce a man who has been shaking up the Senate, so much so that he has the President of the Senate also being shook off her seat, I now introduce to you one of the loudest voices in Trinidad and Tobago, a fighter, none other than the Douglas Senator, Senator ANIL Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. We're moving fast, furious. We have time to vote. Or you might have made a mistake somewhere earlier. We're going to correct that. Imagine citizens are outside of this country suffering. The constitutional rights are being trampled upon. No money, sleeping in subways. We've become an embarrassment to the entire world. All sorts of international newspapers, headlines, Canada, worldwide, Trinidad and Tobago neglecting its citizens. And what does your Prime Minister do? Go to Tobago and play golf. A round of golf, and I love sport. A round of golf for good players take about 4 to 5 hours. When you're terrible and the game don't like you, and you're the worst golf player in God green earth, like Rowley, it has taken about 7-8 hours to play 18 hole of golf. So in 2 days, he spent 16 hours doing nothing but hitting a ball all out in the bush off the grass, while people are suffering. And that's your Prime Minister? Everything in the country collapsed. Economy collapsed, food collapsed, education collapsed, social programs collapsed, roads collapsed, bridge collapsed, Maruga table and the whole constituency collapsing because of the PNM neglect and Rowley playing golf. He's a golf addict. The man needs to go to a Golf Addicts Anonymous now. Short, gone. He need to gone. He need to gone from here. He brain gone, he heart gone, he soul gone. And by just now, the PNM go gone. And according to a Newsday report, Judy Raymond say, the buy gone too. I just hear that, I know. But while he playing golf, our next lady, what she doing during Christmas season, New Year's season, COVID season, 9 months, what she doing? Getting Christmas toys for children. Begging and pleading and asking citizens to help poor children, feeding poor children, giving out over 675 hampers in Separia alone, making sure all our MPs giving out hampers and helping children get Christmas toys. Every one of the 19 UNC MPs she checking on to make sure that they have resources to help people. That is what Kamala doing, having strategy meetings with the opposition, all her forces, to understand what is the plan going forward, to alert you, the people, to the devastating, diabolical nature of Rowley. That is what Kamala was doing while this clown playing golf. She was able to get water for constituents. Imagine Christmas time, New Year's, all in Dago Martin, PNM Nest, no water. In ALYCE GLEN, all they have an election coming. They have a man called Simon, the Nosebreaker, who I don't know where they find he from. But in front of the office, for about 500 meters, is some of the biggest pothole. I nearly want to train Olympic swimmers in it. Right in front of the Clong office. He now reached, and he's a full-fledged PNM, incompetent and dotish. Just around here area, right around the office, they ain't collect garbage in 5 days. It's packing up. Up by me in Dago Martin, yes, I just live up around the PNM. And the whole chat is, give me water, give me water, give me water. And all you're voting PNM, it's time to stop. And you have a chance coming up here. Vote for Mr. LAQUIS, vote UNC. James Chankit. I didn't know who's James Chankit. It sounds like lunch kit. I don't know who he is. But I could tell earlier, James Chankit is a national hero. James Chankit, I explained to my 6-year-old daughter Anaya, is what you want to be. James Chankit, for all you who I know, was a man on the procurement board appointed by the PNM who resigned today. He resigned because he has finally given up. He is finally fed up. As Senator Wade Mark say, when a government come to make amendments to gutter procurement legislation to legalize thieving, somebody had to say stop. Franco meant legalize thieving, and James Chankit say enough is enough. Fire burn that. He gone. I want to applaud James Chankit, and I want to tell you, and all you civil society people out there, protect James Chankit. The United National Congress, Kamala Prasad Bisesa, all the MPs, all the senators, all the councillors, all the chairmen, all the members will protect Chankit. He's not no UNC, but they're going to attack him. I'll recusal with the tight pants and the rental go attack him. Small pin go choke him. And Rowley go come at him. But he will have the protection of the citizens because that is statesman. That is citizen. A man who stand up and said enough is enough. To the Honorable Excellency President Paula May Weeks, you know, I don't bring you into no discussion, but oh Lord, you're begging the Douglas. You're begging the Douglas to just bring you in a little bit. You made a brilliant speech. New Year's, Zessas and Wessas, they selfish, they uncaring, they dotish. I agree. Anybody who would put other people's life at risk are selfish, dotish, and uncaring. So Rowley and Convent Girl and Small Pin who have us dying, 127 people dead of COVID. We don't know how much COVID going, porous borders, lack of data, lack of testing, lack of information, separation, poverty. They are dotish, uncaring, and selfish. Me say so, you know, the president says so. So now I quote for you from Mr. Chankit, because he must be protected, and listen to what this man say, an independent man. Don't come and let them say he's a UNC, you know, me and no Chankit. Okay? Here Chankit. The subsequent stalling and stymieing of our efforts to have the necessary regulations proclaimed as we went through the many challenges to our jurisdiction, interminable reviews and subtle attacks brought on by the government via its agents in state enterprises, the Minister of Finance, the GLEN, the Attorney General, Faris, Al-Rawi, Al-Rental, Al-Recusal, Al-Tight Pants, Al-Duns. Both subtle and frontal underwrote the government's reluctance for proper oversight of its spending. That is fancy words to say they legalize thieving. What government will come into power and reduce the eyes over themselves? What they want to do? Dance the baila, the conga line with Maduro, or they want to thief? You decide. You are the people. The Westminster system across the globe, people resign for all. Are wrapping up there? Hey, yo, God, 7 minutes ago, fast, boy, I can do things. Let me go back to the end. Let me tell all you. So, Chankit. We protecting you. Civil society, Trinidad and Tobago, our procurement legislation was gutted. The man resigned. The whole board should resign. All should resign. And it's over to you, Paula May Weeks, because abstinence might be good in family planning, but abstinence ain't good in the Senate. So, ladies and gentlemen, this month, divorce Rowley. He horned the poor people with the rich. He lied to you. He take your money. He put you out the house. He spit out your children. And now, boy, the buy gone. So vote UNC. Vote your candidates. And in Tobago, mash them up. The UNC not there. God bless. UNC strong. Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Vote hard. Get rid of the PNM. Show them that you're not taking the disrespect anymore. Thank you very much. And it's now we reach where the air is rare. We reach the point that we've been waiting on. Share the live, share the live, share the live. Share it to your friend, your family. Share it to Balize House. Share it to the golf course in Tobago. Let Rowley hear what a real prime minister sounds like. A woman who works for the people, born of the people, fight for the people, believe in people, children on her mind. All her policies in politics, since local government up to prime minister, everything she has done has been for people to uplift them. She has supported them. Her track record is there in black and white. Don't mind who in the newspaper want to lie. The best prime minister in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, the leader of the United National Congress, the leader of the opposition, and the next prime minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Kamla Prasad
Very much. Good evening, all. Members, friends, and family of the UNC. From the UNC, we want to say a very happy New Year, a very blessed New Year to all of you. I know we greet the New Year always with hope and with optimism after the very difficult, challenging year we had in 2020. But the people of our land remain strong. They are resilient, and therefore we will continue to work to meet any challenges which we face in this new year. We are very thankful to have our health, and at the same time we pray for those who lost so much as a result of the pandemic in the last year. But we in the UNC, we are energized. We are ready to tackle the problems. We are ready to fight with you, alongside you, for peace, bread, and justice. That is what we stand for. So as we introduce our candidates tonight, the winning candidates, all 5, we urge you, do not feel election burnout. Do not let election burnout keep you away from the polls. And I know you will feel it because we faced so many elections in a row, one on top of the other. But I ask you to come out, because together we can send a very strong message to the PNM, the wicked, vindictive, shameless PNM. In the UNC, we have the plan, we have the vision to take our country forward. And together we can bring about the change we need. Together we can. I urge you, come out on the 25th of January in the 5 electoral districts. Cast your votes for the UNC, and whilst you do that, stand up for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Stand up for peace, bread, and justice, because we've lost all of that under the PNM. We've lost a peaceful country. We have lost justice in this country. You can look at what is happening with our stranded nationals. Total injustice being meted out, and I'll come back to that point. So, when you stand up on the 25th, you don't just stand up to vote for a candidate for the UNC. You're standing up for all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. People remain stranded outside, whilst the PNM friends and family are coming in. They are being given exemptions to come into the country, but you know what? They're getting exemptions to leave the country too. Do you know that? Whilst the country is on supposed lockdown, they granted exemptions for Delcy and her team. You remember that? Very early after the lockdown was initiated, they let Delcy and her team come in. Up to now, we do not know in God's great earth what they came here for. But we do know that shipments of oil left our country. We know Delcy came in, she was a sanctioned person. The aircraft she came in was a sanctioned aircraft, so they opened the borders to let her and her team come here. And I'm now being told that the permanent secretary in the Ministry of National Security was granted an exemption to leave the country on the 19th of December and an exemption to return on the 30th of December. What did he leave the country for? No government business is being transacted outside. In fact, everybody's using the Zoom and the webinar and using the technology. Why did this permanent secretary leave? And it is bad enough if any PS left, but good God, this is a ministry granting the exemptions. What personal favor was given to the permanent secretary in the Ministry of National Security? Is it true that this person left on the 19th with an exemption to go to the United States and came back in with an exemption to re-enter on the 30th? Seo Cheong, why do you lie to the country? You said on the 30th of November, you talked about what was the policy, and you're coming now to lie that you never said this, but it's reported, and I will read what was reported. CNCG reported after Seo Cheong did a media conference on November 7th, and I read and I quote, "Government's priority remains getting nationals of Trinidad and Tobago back home on a first-come, first-served basis." First come, first serve. How did Miss Rowley, daughter of the Prime Minister, who applied in November, get an exemption in November? Where was she in the first come, first serve? What about all the persons who have applied in March, in April, in May, in June, July, August, September, October? How did this person jump the queue? Listen what the report says further. First come, first serve basis. Whilst applying existing policies that have been previously stated. As such, exemptions and the granting of approvals will depend on the number of persons in the queue. So you had to be in the queue. And then you'll get first come, first serve basis. Depends on the number of persons in the queue and are based on the quarantine space available. Now he's saying he never said that. So is that CNC3 report lying on you, Stuart Young? Did they lie when they reported this after your media conference on the 7th November? First come, first serve. People in the queue, but you have people jump in that queue, wasn't even in the queue, getting exemptions to come home. And is it true that the daughter of the Prime Minister, when granted the exemptions, I'm asking, because there's so much story out there, we need to know the truth. Did she also bring 8 friends with her? Is it that 8 other persons were granted exemptions? And who are they? Are they nationals? Were they in the queue? Did they come at the same time? And then you have our rental, our recusal man, Faris. His son as well. His son left granted exemption to leave and exemption to come back. So what is your policy? You have stranded nationals, man. Out there, people begging to come home. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. People begging to come home for funerals of their loved ones. People begging to come home because they have sick relatives. They're not in the queue. But people getting to come home for Christmas. People getting to leave. That PS leave on the 19th, come back on the 30th to spend Christmas with his family. And you want to tell me that this is policy, this is what you are practicing, this is outright not just discrimination, it's a violation of the human rights of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And I saw in the newspaper over the weekend, they're talking about, lawyers are saying, well, you know, there's no breach of the Constitution because freedom of movement is not an absolute right. It is true, no rights are absolute. And their story is freedom of movement is, well, yes, everybody entitled, but we can't move at the same time because it will be chaos, true? So whilst you have the freedom to move, to go and come, yes, it has to be regulated in some manner because everybody, as I say, you have freedom of movement on the road, but if everybody on the road at the same time, chaos. But they're talking about freedom of movement, but it's a much more fundamental right that is being breached. It is a right to equality of treatment from a public authority. Talk to me about that. All the ones, the commentaries I saw talked about freedom of movement and no absolute right. But not one spoke about the right in our Constitution to equality of treatment by a public authority. The Minister of National Security, the Minister, they are public authorities. Why are you granting exemptions to your friends and family? Why? But this is what they do all the time, is it not? Several spoke with you, Wade and ANIL and so on, about the procurement. I have spoken from this space to you before about the 92 times ministers of the cabinet, Faris and Stuart Young, had to recuse themselves because business was being transacted for their friends or family to benefit. Benefit from the taxpayers' monies. That's what was happening. And now they mash it up. Mr. Chankit has resigned. I am being told another one has resigned or is about to resign. Because they have totally emasculated, using the words of Mr. Chankit. Today I hail you, Mr. Chankit. You're a true patriot. You're a true patriot. And I agree with Anil. He's not a UNC. They will say, oh, well, he resigned because he's a UNC. But they took this procurement law from day one when we went to Parliament. We campaigned in 2010, look, we are going to bring proper procurement legislation. The JCC had given us drafts of a bill and so on. We took all those documents. We had a joint select committee in the Parliament. You know, the same PNM, led by the same person, Rowley. They refused to attend the JSC meeting. They did not attend. They never wanted proper procurement legislation. That's what it was. They did not attend. They went fighting and kicking and screaming not to attend the JSC meetings. And then when we had completed the work of the JSC, we brought the bill to the Parliament for approval of the Parliament. You know what happened? You know, they like to say they vote for everything we bring. Lies as usual. When we came to take the vote in both in the House and in the Senate, they abstained. They never voted for the procurement legislation. Never. It means they never wanted it from day one. And since then, what have they done? Every single budget, starting with their first budget, which they read in 2015, every single one. That would have been the budget statement for the year 2016, financial year. But they read that budget 5th October 2015. They promised to bring into full force the procurement legislation. 2015 budget, 2016, 30th of September. Moving down the line, 2nd October 2017, May 10, 2018, 1st October 2018, 13 May 2019, 7th October 2019, 5th October 2020, the last budget they read, 5th October 2020. And in every one of these, they promised that they will fully implement the procurement legislation. Never did. Never did. You hear lie, that is lie every single year. You have a government standing in the parliament lying to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And instead of fully implementing, what did they do? They have brought 3 amendments to the 2015 law. 3. The first was to deal with shortening the term of service of the persons to serve in the procurement board. Give them a shorter time. And yet not implemented. I think they were waiting for the years to expire, so those fellows would go. I think they were deliberately holding it back so that the persons who had been appointed in 2018, their term would expire. In fact, some of them had to expire in this year, 2021. They shortened the term of office. They brought an amendment to deal with lands, state lands, again, weakening the legislation. Now they want to sell NP stations and so on. That's land, property. They fix it in a way now that their friends and family again will benefit from those things. They want to privatize the Port of Spain. To whom? Who will they privatize it to? What partnership will it again be? The friends and the family and the financiers, because you have removed these things from the procurement legislation. And the third set of amendments is the ones that happened recently, where, as they say, gutted, emasculated. They remove medical services, they remove legal, remove accounting and so on. Why is the Attorney General recusing himself in the cabinet from a decision relating to a CT scan machine? Medical, that's medical. And then you come bold-faced and shameless to remove medical things. What medical interest does the Attorney General have in what? In what? Why did you move the VAT and other customs duties? You agreed to waive it so that somebody that the AG knows he's conflicted had to recuse himself from the cabinet. Why? Why? And you are so shameless. You want to talk about integrity in public life. You want to talk about transparency. There is no transparency with this government. None whatsoever. And Mr. Chankit, as I said, resigned. Well, let's see what happens next. But that's not the way to go, you know. We have to stand together. We have to deal with this wicked government. We cannot let them get a free pass and somebody resigns. Okay, that's great. But you know what? We have to band and come together. In this regard, I propose that the UNC join with other groups, that we have a webinar, like a roundtable discussion on this procurement legislation. We will not let it go. We will give you no support in the Parliament. None whatsoever. You could cry and weep and wail and gnash your teeth as much as you want. We will not support this wicked, lying government in the Parliament or outside the Parliament. In his own words, Dr. Rowley, in your own words, we will isolate you. We will isolate you for your wickedness and incompetence in governance. So there we are with the procurement, but I want to tell you about another piece of procurement now. We have now a vessel known as the APT James. You all know what that is? That's the boat coming from Australia to Trinidad. Again, one trip to Australia with the Prime Minister and his sidekick Young. And what? we go in and buy this vessel. You have the Coast Guard vessels down on the ground now. They can't get fuel. You will not look after them. You lied to the country. Siot Young lied in the parliament when MP Saddam Hussein raised a question about the repairs to the vessels. And they said nobody was here, and the people, the dammen, the people from Holland to repair, they didn't come, and it wasn't. And then we found out, wait, the embassy, no other than the embassy, but wait, we have people here. Then Siot Young came, we brought a matter in the parliament for breach of privilege by Siot Young for lying to the parliament. But before the matter could be raised and discussed, Siot Young came and made a personal statement, and Bob and Weave and paddled himself out of it. He lied to the parliament. There's no question about it. And in lying to the parliament, he lied to the country. He lied. So here we are now, APT James. They want to ensure that this law is so gutted, the procurement law, because it can continue to use your money, taxpayers' money, for the nefarious ends. They are the manufacturers of crisis, this B&M. They are. So, they make up a problem. Then they come like the mighty savior, that they're going to solve the problem. So they crashed the sea bridge, remember? We had a boat known as a Superfast GARCIA. Do you know how much we were paying per day for that, the Superfast? $117,000 per day. They run out the Superfast, they brought in the Cabo Star for $150,000. They brought in Ocean Flower to $185,000 per day. And now we end up with what? The Jean Lavalette, if I'm good in my French. This is the very now. They brought that in. You know how much we're paying per day? Do you know how much? $263,000 per day. Taxpayers' money. And all of that done without any proper procurement process. None of that done with any proper tendering. They just find this boat, a flat bottom boat, they tell us it's more for rivers than for oceans and for seas. $263,000 per day. You run out the Superfast GARCIA at $117,000. You understand? Per day. Where's the logic in that? The only logic in that is some money passed somewhere. Any normal human being will not pay more than you were paying. What is the logic? They cannot answer, but they want to come and talk about what Dr. Munila spoke about there, that helicopter. Like Rowley just has an obsession with helicopters. An obsession from day one. He accused the partnership of using helicopters like bus and personal. It wasn't for that. That helicopters, Rural told you all, was for national security reasons. Senator Damien tells us about the amount of Venice coming in right up there. Coast Guard right about. That chopper would have given us total surveillance of our borders. But no, spite, malice on their part. And now taxpayers will have to pay because they defaulted in terms of the lease contract that had been entered into. So let's go back to APT James now. You remember they are very boastful about this vessel. Eh? They think it's the best thing they've ever got, this APT James. You know how much they're paying for that? $500 million. $500 million. Wayne Mark in the Senate exposed them when he showed that Trinidad and Tobago had signed up to pay more than another country that had purchased the same vessel, or a vessel of a similar type. So let's go back to APT James. The vessel left the shipyard on its way to TNT, but it had to stop along the way. It's a long journey. And they stopped at Malta. And they had to go through certain inspections. Now, the minister said it was halted at in Malta because they had to wait for the winter storms to pass. Minister, I want to tell you, if this inspection document I have in my hand, emanating from Malta for inspection of this vessel, whether these facts are true. That document states that on inspection, that there were not 1 or 2 deficiencies, there were 6 deficiencies of the vessels. 6 deficiencies of the vessel on this $500 million vessel. These defects in the vessel range from a lack of proper certification and documents to missing fire safety equipment, a lack of proper structural access points to vital areas of the ship. It was even discovered that the electronic charts that assist the navigation of the vessel was outdated and did not conform to current maritime codes. This is a great APT James, $500 million worth. Deficiencies, emergency systems, incomplete. Safety of navigation, not updated. Structural conditions, not as required. Fire safety, missing. Fire safety, missing. Fire safety, fire detection and alarm system, missing. Fire safety, personal equipment for fire safety, missing. Certificate and documentation documents, not approved. Can you believe this? Can you believe this is what we paid $500 million for? But the minister says the ship is up there, anchored in Malta because of the winter storms. I'm asking tonight, tell us if this inspection document is true. Tell us if these deficiencies exist in what is supposed to be a brand new ferry. What attention to detail you paid, Minister, and your government. So this is a government-to-government arrangement. As you know, again, in the procurement law, they took that out so they could make their government-to-government arrangements. But even though it's a government-to-government arrangement, it is made with a private company. One trip to Australia, boy, and we get in ferries. $500 million. Man, you can imagine if they go back a second time. Can you imagine? Should they decide to make a second trip? Wouldn't be one ferry, two ferries, might be a whole fleet of ships. They can make these big purchases without the oversight because they failed to implement the procurement law, and now never because they have removed it completely from what was the existing law. So this is what we have under this wicked and shameless government. And the Prime Minister tells us at year end, he says what? The worst is behind us. Prime Minister, are you living in Trinidad and Tobago? Are you for real? Where are you living? The worst, he says, has gone. The worst is behind us, And here we are this year. How can the worst be behind us when you want to bring property tax? Property tax is going to affect every single person. Their narrative is, don't worry, you see us, we don't have to pay property tax because we don't own no property. Don't be fooled with your lies. Every single person in this country is going to be affected with the property tax. How? If you own property, obviously. And you remember when we were doing the debate in the Parliament, I asked the minister, I said, you said every structure on your piece of land is going to get a tax. So I asked him, you mean the dog kennel getting a tax? If you have a fowl pen or a fowl coop or a dog pen or whatever you call it, we had to pay tax. The man said yes. Every structure you have is to be taxed. So that's those who have land, occupy land. For those who do not own the land, you will still have to pay the tax if you're a renter. Because when the landlord has to pay the tax, you think he's going to pay it on his own, he's going to increase your rents. And really, already so many persons cannot pay their rents. It's going to cause an increase in rents as well. And if you think you get away because you're not renting, you don't own no land, you don't get away yet. Because every single business that has to pay these taxes will pass the tax on to the consumer. Every single business. So if a man owns a shop, a grocery, whatever it is he owns, and he's selling something from there, he's retailing matters, retailing items, what do you think he's going to do when he has to pay these taxes? He's going to pass that tax on to you. It will be passed on to this property tax. It's extremely complicated. It affects every single citizen. The worst is behind us, Rowley. And you want to bring property tax to increase the burden and the hardship on citizens of our land. I call on the Prime Minister to hold. Do not bring in that dreaded, wicked property tax at this time. Then now, the worst is behind us. Critical foreign exchange problems. Serious forex. Wade spoke about it earlier about the shipping company saying they're not going to accept TT dollars. You have to pay them in the US. So when we can't get the US, the people importing the food and whatever we import, You can't get US because there's such a shortage. What's going to happen? Does it mean we are going to face empty grocery shelves? Because you know what, $5 to $6 billion of our food is imported. Does it mean that we're going to face shortages of medication? We don't produce medication in this country. We have to import it. Already we have shortage to even buy it. Now you're going to have shortage to pay for the shipping. So you want to tell me the worst is behind us, Mr. Rory? Show me how. Tell me how you're going to deal with this to avoid shortages of food, shortages of medication, shortages of essential items that we have to bring in if you don't have the forex. Tell us how you're going to create the forex. The one major foreign exchange earner in our land was the Petrotrin refinery. The major forex earner. Now we have to take forex to buy the fuel from somebody else. We stop refining. So we have to find foreign exchange, which we never had to find before, to buy fuel. You have not told us one way in which you are going to earn more foreign exchange. Because don't make us feel foreign exchange is for people to buy apples and grapes. That's why the minister, laughing, usual clown that he is, stands up in the parliament in the budget to tell us, from January, no apple and grapes. We're going to put taxes on it. People live for the whole year. They don't eat apple and grapes. And some of us don't even like it. But you make it into a nonsense, ridiculous issue. Oh, foreign exchange shortage, so we're not going to let you all buy apples and grapes. We're going to put a big tax on it. Who are you fooling? Who are you fooling? When you all get the tax exemptions, huge tax exemption, Rowley getting big, finance minister, are you really getting tax exemptions for that luxurious building you're putting up there, what you call duplicitous or multiple family dwellings in one building? Forest got exemptions from what? For some scan machine. For the life of me, I can't understand why this man recusing himself for a matter before the cabinet to give exemptions. So they give themselves exemptions, but what? It's tax on you, property tax on you, tax on your apple and your grapes, tax on the motor vehicles. As from this month, prices of motor vehicles going up. What is that going to do to the economy? What will that do to the prices of other things? Answer us. And you tell us, bold-faced and brass-faced and lying, the worst is behind us, Prime Minister. The worst is behind us when you intend to tax and borrow and suffer everyone in this country. Job losses, how is the worst behind us? You have not told us one way in which you will increase the number of jobs. On top of that, you lie and hide the statistics about the true amount of job losses in this country since you came into office. And don't tell us it's pandemic. Because hundreds of thousands lost their jobs even before the pandemic. You crashed the economy before the pandemic. The pandemic is now the plaster for every incompetence on your part. Every failure by the Rowley regime. Blame Kamala. And when they're tired, blame pandemic. They have no answers. And you say the worst is behind us. How are we going to create jobs? Tell us in this new year. Don't come with platitudes, the worst behind us. Don't raise a red herring with that helicopter to say we were corrupt. We were not corrupt. It was a proper procurement process went through for that lease arrangement to be entered into. But where's your procurement process? For the ferry, what did you do? One trip to Australia. You know, our commissioner tries very hard. Police, he talks about one shot, one kill. Well, this is one trip to Australia. $500 million of taxpayers' money being spent. More job losses. The energy sector has been decimated. All the plants who have been closed down at Point Lisas. And up to today, we cannot hear what is the end of the patriotic bid for the refinery. Has anyone heard anything? Have they said anything? Nothing. Nothing about the patriotic bid. On the eve of the election, they promised, don't worry, all the promises, PNM promises never materialize. They lie to the country, and they break every single promise that they have. What is the status of the refinery? You promised to reopen the refinery to create back some of the jobs that were lost. So not even that has materialized. Tell us how you're going to deal with the job losses that continue to pile up, continue to increase every day. The worst is behind us. He lies. Promise you, lie. Infrastructure is collapsing everywhere. You saw recently the story where on the road to where was it going to? Mayaro? Mayaro. Residents were cut off because the road was so bad. PTSD said, look, we're not going to send a bus. Worse behind us. Well, I hope they have fixed it by now, but that the infrastructure all around us. You see it all the time. People put up pictures. The road is no longer a road, it's a pothole. Pothole after pothole after pothole. Everywhere, infrastructure. The schools, Monilal mentioned, these schools that remain unopened. Vine growing all over it. In state of dilapidation, schools that were nearly complete. There are two in my own constituency, the Shiva Boys College and the Parvati Girls College. You see the structure and you see it is in decay and disarray because since the PNM came in, spite, malice and ill will, they have refused to do anything there. Ramaitre Sindhu, Reform Hindu, schools across the country. And these are the people who stand up and cry and say, oh yes, Kamla, 106 schools you built. Well, tell us where. When we start to tell them there, they never ask again. We put up all the pictures, one after, Alan Karim, thank you. Put up pictures, one after the next of the 106 schools. And they were all over the country. They were not concentrated in UNC constituencies. There's one thing you cannot say about my government. We were fair across the board. We were fair and transparent. So there we are. All around us, things are in decay. No proposals or plans come from the government except to tell us the worst is behind us. And this year, when Minister of Finance gave his budget statement, he said this year, 2021, will be the year for resetting the economy for growth and innovation. Where is the growth? Where's the reset? We are in reverse mode. There's no resetting. Nothing is happening whatsoever. Nothing. And you'll hear them screaming on their platforms. I think they're somewhere tonight. They will try to say what they've achieved. Nothing. You promise local government reform every single year. You hear lie? Lie again. In fact, I think if you go back to 1960, PNM manifestos from 62 coming down the year, every year you will see they're promising local government reform. The only government that did some serious local government reform was the NAR government, which introduced the Municipal Corporations Act for really major reform in local government. But again, this wicked PNM, as soon as they came into power, they did the same thing that they did with the procurement law. They amended the law to remove some of the corporations that the NAR had created. They removed them, reduced them. And I'll share some of that with you. So local government reform is like their recurring nightmare decimal. Every time, and I'm sure this election, we'll hear it around 2019. Prime Minister Rowley down in Sapara, I say, Lord, Kamala lost Sapara, boy. Thank you, people of Sapara. We made sure that didn't happen. In Sapara, 3-4 times, loafing around, promising the Sapara Corporation. You know what he promised? He promised he'll make them into a borough. You know, I see recently he come back again. He said he wants to make sure Guana's a city, and he wants to make Sapara a borough. Well, don't get no chain up with that. Eh? These people lie, outright lie. Never keep their promises. So local government reform, repeat, ad nauseum. Repeat, local government reform. And none has happened. Instead, what they did is, as I say, similar to what they did with procurement, they emasculated the local government law that was passed by the NAR. I'll show you how that happened. So we see now we really need local government reform. We see, for example, that we have inequity and inequality in representation from corporation to corporation. We have inequality and inequity with respect to resources per corporation. And you have inequity and inequality with respect to the representation by a council. Let's share this with you. I'll need the data to share this with you. So let's look at allocations. Khadija has spoken on this matter several times. In terms of monies allocated, let's look at it. If we look, for example, In the ARIMA Borough Corporation, their population size is 33,606. Okay? 33,606. They got $82.4 million. This is ARIMA P&M control. Let's look at Chaguanas Borough. A population of 83,516. Remember the numbers in ARIMA? 33,606. Chaguanas, 83,516. How much money they got? 69.3 million. In other words, Chaguanas got far less money than ARIMA, even though Chaguanas had a larger population. So it means that in ARIMA, if you divide the number of voters to the millions given, allocated, it means every single individual would get $2,453 per year, not in money, but in goods and services. In Chaguanas, each person would get, in goods and services, $830. Is that fair? Can that be allowed to continue? And I'm just giving you the story is the same across the board for all the corporations. In the Chaguanas Borough Corporation, the population is 49,910 more people than ARIMA, yet they got $13 million less. It means that every person in Chaguanas Borough receives $1,623 less than a person in ARIMA. I say not the money, but the goods and services. So it means that in between them, the disparity is almost 300%. The disparity between allocation to ARIMA, allocation to Chaguanas. So you have, imagine that they are getting 300% more in ARIMA with less people than the larger Chaguanas. It's the same, Superior, Mayaro, Princeton, and so on, all receive considerably less money. But let's look at another issue of inequity and inequality. There's been another issue, which is the unequal distribution of burgesses to elected representatives. In 1992, because this is when the Municipal Corporation Act took full effect, local government elections, there were 136 electoral districts in Trinidad. 1992, 136 electoral districts. Tonight we named our candidates for 5 of these 136. In 2016, it was increased to 137. And by the time we got to 2019, it's increased to 139 for the 2019 locals. So from 92, there were 136 districts. 2019 elections, 139, increase of 3. Nothing wrong with that, but watch this. Look at this. In 1992, the electorate for local government in Trinidad was 774,233. By the time we got to the 2019, the electorate was 1.077 million persons. So it had more than doubled. The population for local government voted had more than doubled by the time we got to 2019. And in this year, 2020, for the by-elections, this will not impact so greatly, but we have another local coming, so we really need a reform. 1992, total electorate, 774,233. 2019, 1,077,186 people. So the voting population has grown by more than 300,000 voters between 92 and 2019. The number of councillor seats, now so many more people, what happened? You would expect to get more councillors. For general elections, what did we have? We had more electoral districts. Remember the time when we got 5 more constituencies because of the growth in population. Nothing like that has happened in local. So we find with the local, from 1992 to last 2019 local, only 3 new districts. You have a population, 300,000 more people to vote for local, but you only got 3 more electoral districts, from 136 to 139. They have done nothing to correct this problem. It is worse every year. There is no equity, there is no equality on the workload expected of the councillors. There is no equality of the vote. There's no equality of representation. There is no equity and equality in the allocation of the resources. The number of persons who are represented by a single councillor is vastly different. And yet, every councillor gets the same stipend. So, for example, a councillor in Point Fortin Borough represents 2,147 voters. When you come to Tunapuna-Piarco Corporation, one councillor represents 11,105 voters. You see the inequity, the inequality? And yet they get the same stipend. In other words, each councillor in Tunapuna-Piarco represents 4 times more the number of voters than the person down in Point and, for example, also in ARIMA. So let's give you this representation. Point Fortin in 1992, there were 2,147 electors per councillor. By the time you get to 2019, that remained almost steady at 2,843, and there was no new district in Point Fortin. Port of Spain, 92, 3,453 per electoral district. Representation, 3,151 electors per councillor. But they had a minus population, minus 3,618. No new seat and no reduction in the seats. And the story goes on the same throughout each of them. So you have councillors representing about 2,000 people, as compared to people in Princestown, 7,685. You come to Sapara, 7,000. You come to Sama Lavantil, 6,000. You come to Tunapuna, 7,000 and more. The number of seats have actually been reduced in Mayaro. They reduced the number of seats in Mayaro. The Mayaro Corporation in 1992 was, coming to it. Anyway, they reduced the numbers in Mayaro. It was, they reduced it in 1992 by 2019. They took away 4 seats from Mayaro. 4 seats from Mayaro. Even though that electorate had increased by 8,165. Increased, but they reduced the number of seats. So it is very clear there is no equity, there is no equality, and there is, in my respectful view, that there is rank discrimination by this inequality of treatment to these councils by way of the Ministry of Finance and the government. So we will see now, if you take only 2 districts in Tunapuna-Piarco, only 2, they have far more voters than Point or ARIMA, the whole of Point and the whole of ARIMA. So my dear, what is the international best practice? We look at our constitution, we look at our law, and they say they're doing the right thing according to the law, but it is right on the letter of the law, but not in the intent and spirit of the law. Internationally, the European Commission for Democracy, the Venice Commission, their Code of Good Practice in Electoral Matters and Guidelines, explanatory report 18 to the 19th of October advises specifically under the heading Equal Suffrage as follows. Equal voting power. Seats must be evenly distributed between the constituencies. 1. This must at least apply to elections to lower houses of parliament and regional and local elections. 2. This concept of equal suffrage entails a clear and balanced distribution of seats among constituencies on the basis of one of the following allocation criteria. Population. I just shared with you the population numbers. Number of resident nationals, number of registered voters, and possibly the number of people actually voting. An appropriate combination of these criteria may be envisaged. In order to guarantee voting power equally, the distribution of seats must be reviewed at least every 10 years, preferably outside election periods. When they review, the EBC reviews anything, what do? They shift 1 PD from here to there. So in San Fernando West for the last general, they shift 3 PDs out of San Fernando East, a PNM stronghold, into San Fernando West. Bordering San Fernando west is Oropouche. Which is it, Rudy? Yours, Oropouche? East or west? Both east and west. Look at that. 2 stronger UNC seats, but they didn't take one PD from there. They took from where? San Fernando East. So the border of Oropouche East, border of Oropouche West, borders, and on the other side, Pointe-a-Pitre borders. But where they get to take it from? That's their kind of review. Up in Komoto, Manzanar, and Toko, they shift 1 or 2 things here for the general elections. And that's their kind of review. It is very clear that this thing is totally disproportionate and discriminatory to the burgesses and the councillors in many of our districts. I want to tell you, we have been researching, doing the law on, research on the law of that provision in our constitution which speaks about equality of treatment by a public authority. We are looking at it now based on the fact that we now have another limb in the constitution to challenge the inequality of treatment by the Ministry of National Security in granting exemptions. We didn't have before. You say, okay, well, you stop this one, you stop that one, but because of the COVID, that is proportionate, that is realistic, okay, disease and death, everybody frightened. But when you come to equality of treatment, that's a totally new ballgame. So we've been looking at that research. There are a lot of cases right up to the Privy Council with this equality of treatment. And we are looking at it in respect of the allocations made to the various regional corporations. And our lawyers, together with myself, we are seeking to challenge the allocation of resources. And the lawyers are also looking at the exemptions and the basis and policy of the ministry in granting these exemptions. So as I move on, close to closing, what is the importance of these by-elections? Why are they important? As I say, many will be feeling election burnout. Many will say, well, what is the point of voting in this? It's not going to change the price of cocoa. But the fact is, these elections will change the level of representation closest to you. Local government and your councils are closest to you, more so than the central government. So your vote is very important. Always remember that if we don't come out to vote for what is right, then our children will have to pay that price. You remember in 1971, there was a no-vote campaign. Allow the PNM to take every seat, no-vote campaign. What happened? Up to today, we are still facing the consequences of that. They went in and they amended the Constitution. They brought the 1975 Constitution, which really totally created a kind of dictatorship in the central government. They had all the powers to run over rights and trample rights. And they changed the Constitution in a manner, as I say, to have a prime ministerial dictatorship. So this time, don't feel your vote doesn't count. Do not have a no-vote campaign. Do not stay away from the polls. Remember from our history what happens when you stay away. If this party, the PNM, cannot protect your jobs, they cannot ensure your prosperity, they cannot develop your children's future, and they are in central government, how can they serve you in local government? So the might of the state in central government, how can this better serve you for local government? If putting food on your table or ensuring your children have the technology to learn, these are human rights, how can we expect them to maintain your drains and your local issues? You need your candidate there who will be people-centered to look after you. This is an election, as Khadija said, where we must send them a message. We must vote against them because of the hardship and oppression they have caused our citizens. We must say enough is enough to high food prices. We must say no to property tax by voting against them. We must stand up for those who they have blocked out of our country by voting against the PNM. We must stand up against the Petrotrin betrayal by saying no to the PNM. We must stand against the emasculation of the procurement legislation, vote against the PNM. Above all, these are all issues of peace, bread, and justice. We must vote for peace, bread, and justice by voting for the UNC. So whilst the local elections, they may be, we must never forget the hardship they have caused. In ARIMA, I ask you to get a UNC councillor in so we can hold that council accountable for hardships they have caused and for transparency in the chartered borough. In Chaguanas, let us ensure we send back Team UNC so the dynamic people-centered representation can continue. In St. Mary's, Hindustan, under the UNC, you have an opportunity and development for all. Ensure a UNC victory. In Diego Martin, it is time to give yourself a chance. How many times you'll continue to put this wicked, shameless government? Look at the roads in Diego Martin. Look at the garbage collection. Garbage collection in Diego Martin has now become collection on the street and on the roadways. In Diego Martin, give yourself a chance. Vote, John LAQUIS, vote for the UNC. In Point Fortin, you certainly deserve better. For too long, you have been subjected and neglected. This is a time for real representation. Vote for your UNC candidate for Hollywood. Citizens, let us let the PNM know we are not satisfied with your so-called governance. Let us stand up and be counted. Vote for the party with a plan to improve your lives. Let us stand up for bread, peace, and justice. Vote for the UNC, a party that will continue to fight for you. As I close, I remind you, and I want to thank all of you who came out in our internal elections to vote for a new national executive. Thank you for the confidence you have placed in me to lead our party, our great party, and for the rest of the members of the NATEX. Tonight, I want to thank the outgoing General Secretary, Mr. Dave Tanku, and our outgoing PRO, Anita Haynes, now MP. They served us well. We thank them. We wish them well as we go forward. Our party, following upon the NATEX elections, has taken the decision to appoint the new PRO and the new GenSec. As you know, these positions are not elected positions. They are positions that the National Executive names the persons to hold these two positions. The two positions cannot be held by elected MPs or by senators. And so the party is proud to announce that at our last National Executive meeting, we have appointed two loyal soldiers of our party, and they've been fighting with us along the way. Our new General Secretary is Mr. Peter Kanhai. Please congratulate him. And our new PRO is Dr. Kirk Megu. Please congratulate him. We look forward to the team working together. I close by telling you, we got these things from the PNM. We did well in the last elections, maybe not as well as we wanted to or should have, but I want you to not be ashamed and be very proud that our percentage of voters increased from 2015, when it was 39.61%, to 47.09% in 2020, so a percentage increase. The PNM's voter percentage dropped from 51.68 in 15, they dropped down to 49.8. It was a razor-thin result that came in. We gained almost 20,000 new votes compared to 2015 in 2020. And we did not even contest 2 seats, but we gained over 20,000 new votes. Not to mention the fact that we captured a very key marginal seat, Maruga Tableland, taking us up to 19. So we are just a hair's breadth away from governance. Do not despair. Do not let the naysayers make you feel ashamed. We are UNC and we are proud. We are UNC and we are proud. We will continue to fight. We will continue to work for you as we go forward. So I say together we can. I make a call again that all those who wish to work with us, all those who want for us to remove this wicked, shameless government, incompetent government, for those of us who want to make a difference, to bring the change that we need, I tell you, you're welcome. Join us. Contact your local UNC representatives in the constituencies where you are. Don't just send me a message you want to come and be a senator or an MP. Work. Come in and work. All those who want to help, come and work. We have rewarded loyal members of our party, hard-working people in our party. And I say to all those of you sitting on the sidelines, sitting over the fence, come home. Come home. There is room in the house of the rising sun for everyone. Together, let us work to remove the wicked government that we have. And together we say, we are UNC and we are proud. We are UNC and we are proud. God bless you, and I thank you very much.
I will fight. I will